It is great to have you with us on the 3rd of October. Closing in, the Golden Knights will begin NHL season number 6 for them 8 days from today. They'll start it in Los Angeles, and then the home opener on October the 13th against the Chicago Blackhawks. Dave Goucher, Gary Lawless with you, nighttime at noon this week. And delighted to have all of you with us. We'll mention right off the bat, Bruce Cassidy, head coach of the VGK, will join us in segment number 2, so 12:15-ish in there somewhere. Lawman, what's shaking? How was your weekend?
What's shaking? I'll address everything as we go along here.
Okay.
All 4 cheeks and a couple of chins, to quote the great Norm Peterson.
Yep, cheers.
Weekend was busy. Had a game Friday night, and then a little jaunt out of town to San Diego for some other business. Today is October 3rd is National Boyfriend Day.
Is that right?
Was there a little something special in your...
No.
Christine?
Nothing. How about you?
No. This one just sailed right by in the Lawless house.
No, I'm sure it was just, please get out of the house.
I guess we're not technically
somewhere.
no longer boyfriends,
No,
right?
I think we passed that stage.
Yeah.
Long time ago. But the Golden Knights, 4 exhibition games down. 3 to go every other night coming up this week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. 2 against Arizona, 1 against the Kings. They'll have their final preseason game at home here tomorrow night against Arizona. Then it's on to Salt Lake on Thursday against the Kings, and then to Boise on Saturday against Arizona. Had their pretty setback in terms of the score the other night, Gary. I always say when it comes to the preseason, can you tell me anyone's preseason record ever in the history of sports?
No, and
nobody can.
And to go a little deeper, the first week of the preseason is often, like, I think when you get down to the last 2 games, maybe the last 3 games, you can start to. But you look at the Golden Knights lineup. A lot of nights they've had a lot of young players. The worst performance they've had. They had their most veteran lineup on the ice, but a lot of those players hadn't played previously. Mark Stone hadn't played in a long time. Alec Martinez hadn't played in a long time. And so, it is meant to be an opportunity for players. They're in shape. This isn't like 1972. I'm watching that series, and, the Team Canada arrives thinking that they're going to play their way into shape, and they start losing games to the Russians. But that used to be, you would come, and training camp was to train. Training camp to get ready for the season. Not anymore. These guys are physically, they're like you.
Oh, yeah.
Specimens.
a lot better than this.
This is all about timing. So, I think, listen, Mark Stone was the one guy I watched more than anybody else the other night. And, we saw the name on the back of his jersey. That's pretty much all he showed us.
Yeah.
But I think he'll get better. I think there was probably a huge mental block. Well, he admitted as much. He said that the first few shifts, he was nervous. He had surgery on his back. I can't fathom what that would be like to go and play in a professional sports game after having a doctor cut you open and mess around with your back. It's nerve-wracking, and that's no pun intended.
Yeah, and he mentioned he felt rust, right?
Yeah.
And you could see it in his game. Yeah. It's interesting, the timing of that game. So that was Friday night. The team, as we speak, is on the way back from Montana, from Rock Creek. They have their traditional team building up at Bill Foley's gorgeous 35,000-acre ranch up in Montana. They're going to skate today at 2:30. Public welcome, by the way. Stop by. SUNY National Arena here as training camp continues. But, they kind of had to sit on that game for a couple of days. And now they've got another exhibition game tomorrow night. Curious to kind of see what their lineup would look like. The Golden Knights made all sorts of moves the other day, most of it run-of-the-mill transactions in terms of sending players to Henderson. The 4 players, by the way, that went on waivers, Michael Hutchinson, Byron Frazee, Sheldon Rempel, Braden Pahal, all cleared. So they're good to go in terms of they cleared, and now they can go to Henderson. And you know more than I do about the waiver rules. At 30 days, you can come back and forth without having to clear again.
Sounds about right.
That's about what that is. So then be interesting to see what kind of a lineup they ice tomorrow night. They're coming off this trip. They're going to have a skate today. you'd probably think those last two games at the end of the week, Thursday, Saturday, they'd really like to have honed in what they hope their opening night lineup's going to look like.
Well, I would suggest that Tuesday night is the last chance for guys that are really fighting for jobs to take a step forward. So, because I think probably the last two games up in Boise and Salt Lake, that's going to be the team is going to have a chance to play. And I think it's really important for Bruce Cassidy to have his team play in those games because he's implemented a lot of different wrinkles. And it's one thing to have a big group and to be teaching it, but the actual guys that need to execute on what he's brought to the organization, they need to play, and he needs to be able to watch them play and evaluate and show them, get some film on them and be able to say, you did this well, I want you to be over here. There's a lot of read and react in how he coaches. He has non-negotiables in the sense that if you're supposed to be back-checking, you back-check. But how you do it and where you go, he still lets players play hockey. It is not just go and run one route. There are different branches that you could take off that route depending on the read and react. And speaking to a bunch of the players, in particular, William Karlsson the other day, he said it's a really fun system to play. You have to play hard, but you don't take your brain out before the game and leave it in your locker. You get to still think out there, and that's I think for a veteran group, that's more fun.
That's an area he wanted, Bruce Cassidy talked about before the last game. He wanted them to he didn't want them to overthink it, right? Yeah. Use some of your instincts. Use your hockey sense. We thank everyone for watching on our streams as well. Of course, we're on our flagship station, Fox Sports Las Vegas, 98.9 FM, but also on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, including Harvey checking in on the YouTubes from the United Kingdom.
Harv,
good to see you. Hope everything's good in the UK.
Hopefully Ringo Starr is okay.
Ringo's got the COVID.
Yes.
Canceling some shows. But Ringo at 82 is healthier than most humans at 82. Still looks fantastic.
What's the secret to Ringo?
I don't know. Well, I think he lives a pretty healthy lifestyle. I think he had some issues with some things in the past. As
Barbara Bach got all that taken care of.
In
got
that field,
all...
do. Yeah. And I think, I think he's remarkably healthy. But 82 and still, he'll get through this. He'll get through the COVID without any problems. Mentioned training camp continuing. The Henderson Silver Knights on the ice today, opening camp for the first time over at Lifeguard Arena. That's open to the public. So if you want to go over there, check out what's happening. And, of course, the Golden Knights continue their training camp as well here at City National Arena. An area they felt the other night, Gary, they struggled was in their own zone. They weren't real clean on their breakouts. And they felt that, especially with the San Jose team that came pretty hard at them on the forecheck, turnovers. You hear coaches talk a lot about puck management. Bruce Cassidy didn't like their neutral zone much either. The good news is for him, he had yesterday and today with his staff to kind of, okay, these are the things we want to pinpoint and tweak and improve heading into a practice today and then the final week of training camp this week.
There'll be some things for the players to watch when they get off the plane and get here to City National prior to practice. So.
Well, and they all, it was interesting the other night. I think, Bruce was asked. He said, if this is the middle of the season and you kind of get a game like this, you might be kind of more apt to throw it away.
Yeah.
But not right now. Like they've still got things they want to improve upon.
He's teaching.
And get going as they try to improve here with the season moving along in the not too distant future, to say the least. What's your sense, Gary, overall of what you've seen? So they've got 4 exhibition games down and 3 to go. What's kind of piqued your interest the most with this group?
Well, I think Paul Cotter has been a pretty interesting player. I've liked a lot of the younger players. Daniel Chayka has had a pretty good camp. I've liked him. Korzak has gotten better. Patrice Cormier, I can remember his first game.
Or Lucas Cormier.
Who's Patrice?
He plays in the league as well.
Yes,
but he's not on the Golden Knights team.
All right.
Okay.
Lucas Cormier. Thanks for pointing it out, Dave.
Well, I don't want people to think he doesn't know what he's talking about. They already think that enough.
He played in the preseason last year and made a ton of mistakes. And then the first game he played in Colorado this year, you just watched the game get better, and you can tell he's a smart player, and smart players adjust. They figure out the level, what they have to do, what they can do and what they can't, and they tailor their game to match that situation. And I've really liked the way he's adjusted and how he's handled things. I guess Logan Thompson's been pretty good so far. You know, I'm kind of been waiting to see Aiden Hill find his game. We haven't seen that just yet. So the next couple of games will be important for him as well.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the goaltending as to how that shakes itself out. You've got some injuries. Will Carrier hasn't been around for the last week or so. Nick Hague remains unsigned. So that's something you kind of keep an eye on too. Can somebody like a Paul Cotter that's had an interesting camp trying to break through and make this team out of camp?
Well, he requires waivers. So when a player makes noise like that in a training camp, we're not the only ones that notice. You know, there's pro scouts at all these meetings. So I can't imagine Paul Cotter would squeeze through waivers right now. So hard to imagine he's not part of the opening night roster in some fashion.
Yeah, the Golden Knights will get going here, as we said, coming up next Tuesday in Los Angeles, and the home opener Thursday against the Chicago Blackhawks. But between now and then, 3 more exhibition games for the VGK. Here tomorrow against Arizona. Gary and I will be doing that on television together. Shane Knighty gets the night off with pay. Set your DVRs now for what this will look like. Lord only knows how this will go. I'm optimistic that it'll be marginally decent. What do you expect?
Well, it won't be you. It won't be Dave and Shane. It'll be Dave and Gary, and that'll be different. You know, listen, Shane's only one of the best in the world at what he does.
He's fine.
So
he's adequate enough.
Thanks for throwing.
He's adequate.
Well, we have to in the preseason. We move people around, give them a chance to do different things, and if heaven forbid we weren't able to get the call to the bullpen quick enough, and something would need to happen, it would be nice to know that Dave and I had done a game.
Shane got hit by a bus or something. We're not
They'd
wishing
still play the
on
game, right, Dave?
Either way, that's what I say. They wouldn't even have a moment. They might skip the moment of silence and drop the puck. We mentioned Golden Knights head coach Bruce Cassidy waiting in the wings. He will join us in a moment. But before that, Golden Knights fans, if you're ready to see your team back on the ice, be sure to become a full season ticket member for the 2022-23 season and never miss a game at the Fortress. A full season member will have perks such as discounts on merchandise, parking, and more. To get more information about a full season membership, contact the Vegas Golden Knights sales team. You can give them a call at 702-645-4359 or send them an email at tickets@vegasgoldenknights.com. Dave Goucher, Gary Lawless with you. Nighttime at noon. Head coach of the VGK, Bruce Cassidy, coming up next on Fox Sports Las Vegas. And great to have you with us here nighttime at noon. The Golden Knights closing in on a new season. Still a week or so of training camp to go as they get ready and geared up for the season opener in Los Angeles coming up a week tomorrow. Dave Goucher along with Gary Lawless. We're happy to be joined by the head coach of the Golden Knights, Bruce Cassidy, joining us. Bruce, there's a lot of things we want to cover with you, and I'm sure you're excited to hear that. How was your weekend, first off? Let's get to the important stuff.
Just unpacking. We just moved in Saturday morning, so a lot of work around the house. Got away from hockey a little bit, watched some of the game from the other night that was painful at times. And other times there was some good things. Usually the way it works out. But anyway, back to work today.
What's you come from an original sixth place on the Eastern Seaboard to a non-traditional market in the desert. What's it been like for you in Vegas?
Well, it's more of the first thing I think of, how are the kids doing in school? Are they enjoying their sports, and are they acclimating with their teammates in hockey and baseball, et cetera? Shannon's playing volleyball. So that's the first thing you always worry about. Get settled in a house. We've finally able to do that now. So get to know some people in the neighborhood. The weather obviously is the biggest difference, right? You're outside last night. I'm watching some of the game, from the other night on the computer, and it's 80 degrees out, and you're sitting in your backyard. So that's nice. It's good on these old bones that don't have to worry about starting to move all the winter coats downstairs just yet.
You mentioned you watched some of Friday. You said maybe it was a little bit painful. How do you take what happened Friday and move it forward to today's practice? How do you utilize that?
Well, the players had a bonding trip, so I don't know if they were thinking ahead. I don't know if it's part of preseason where we weren't sharp, and you get a young team coming in, try to push for spots. I think that happens a lot in preseason. The guys that are on the team are sort of looking after themselves. The younger guys are really pushing to make it, so their effort level is quite high. We've seen that with some of our young guys. They've been some of our better players. So there's a little bit of that you always got to factor in. How it translates today is you can't fix everything in one day, but I do think we really struggled with our breakouts the other day. So getting our feet moving, going back on puck, supporting the puck better, we'll start there, and then build that into throughout the week.
I read an article where you are quoted talking about the first time you addressed the Washington Capitals, first time you were a head coach in the NHL, and you said you walked out after you talked to them and you said that didn't go very well. And it was, that first impression was, you only get one chance at it. Obviously, it went real well in Boston because you were uber successful there. Did you plan for your first conversation with this group? How did it go? And how do you think the players are accessing your message?
Yeah, well, I think you always plan for it. In Washington, there was a lot of newness. I can't remember exactly what, other than with newness comes opportunity. I think that was the message in Washington that, it's a clean slate for everybody. Boston, I took over, it was 11 o'clock at night and you're at practice the next day and away you go. So I was the assistant coach, so I knew the guys in the room. So that was a little more, here's what I think we need to do to get this thing turned around. Whereas Vegas, the message, again, was more about style of play, how I feel we can utilize some of the stuff we've done in the past versus, maybe, what was done previously, but keep a lot of the stuff because Vegas has been successful. So that was the message. So how's it been received? I thought our first 3 games defending were very good, bought into it. The other night, I was asked that after the game, and, the defending obviously wasn't great, but some of it was breakdowns we had with the puck. Now all of a sudden you're scramble mode. And that's just a little bit of guys putting out fires, and we didn't do that well the other night, but we created those fires for ourselves. So I think they've responded well in a lot of areas, but until we see this group together as one group and one team playing, and we'll see a little bit more of that this week, obviously you get less and less in numbers, be able to better answer that question.
When you leave Boston and you get hired by Vegas real quick, probably a little bit of opportunity for reflection between the time when you actually got here and started to work. Did you look at yourself and say, I'd like to tweak this, I'd like to be a little different? And I won't say better because you went to the final, you went to the playoffs every year. You did a fantastic job there. But did you want to reinvent Bruce Cassidy a little bit?
Well, some areas, and I do want to get better. I think I would say the same next year no matter how this year goes. I think that's normal. You're always trying to get better. How do you get better? Understand the game, what changes are taking place, how the players changing, communication skills. I think always those things come in. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Going into this particular stage of my career, and I think the players have to match that too, Gary. I mean, they have to have an open mind as well and say, you know what, we didn't achieve what we wanted to either, so I have to listen to the way the game was played from a different, coaching style as well, and you hope you meet halfway.
Is your sense that they have been open to what you and the staff are trying to sell?
I believe they are.
Yeah.
Again, let's get the group together as one before you truly can measure whether are we changing or not. And habits are hard to break. Good ones are hard to break, and that's why you see certain teams have success over and over again, because they've developed good habits, and bad habits are the same. So we're trying to develop good habits away from the puck, how we play, and go from there. So we'll see how that messaging goes as the team goes through the year. I think it's too early, to be honest with you, to say, oh, everyone's got everything, or it's hunky dory, or it's crap. It's neither right now. It's a work in progress.
When did you start to? So it took 8 days between your end of your time with the Bruins and getting hired here. When did you start to think about line combinations? What might work? I mean, Phil Kessel wasn't signed then, and I get that. But you know what I mean? When did you start to have that percolate in your brain?
Well, I think it was day 2 when after I was let go, that Krim reached out, and so now you're thinking about the team, just like any team that would call you, right? Okay, what's the personnel look like? Who played with who? You start doing your homework. A lot of different things. What happened previously? What's the culture of the team? The identity of the team? I think that's the biggest thing you always think of: identity. Where is it? What happened? Is it still strong? Is it need fixing? All that stuff. Yeah. So personnel was probably deeper dive after you get hired. Certainly line combinations, and then some guys left. There were some trades of guys that played last year: Dadonov, Pacioretty. So that changes things. Now you got some free agents that are in the mix, and some young names are brought up. This guy may have a chance, etc. So I would say it all happened after you sit down and you're here physically. When I came to your press conference, now you're digging in a little more of names on the board, so to speak, that are right in front of you, not just over the phone.
Why do you coach? What do you like about it?
I started because I loved the game of hockey and I couldn't play anymore. And it was the next best thing to being in the trenches than playing, is you're right there. So that was the first thing, passion for the game. And that probably still is why I coach. Now, I want my name in the Stanley Cup. Can't do that as a player, obviously. And this is, the best way to do that as well. It's rewarding at times when you see a team grow. I remember someone said that to me, is it fun? I said, fun is not the word I think of when coaching, because there's you're managing a lot of personalities. There's always a fire to put out. There's a lot of things going around, but it is definitely rewarding. I find it enjoying more than fun, I guess, because when you do have success, then you can sit back and say you played a part in it.
The fun lasts for about 20 minutes, right? Like you compete all night, and then, when you win, you guys are, we see you, you guys are happy after a game, and then by the time you get on the plane, where you beat Nashville in Nashville, and you got to play Dallas either the next night or the night after. As your former colleague would say, we're on to Dallas. Like you move quickly, don't you?
Well, you have to, and then I always watch our game, because you miss a lot. Obviously, the game is fast and live. And then you realize, hey, we beat Nashville, let's say, but boy, we didn't really play as well as I thought we did. Next night you go into Dallas and lose, and you're mad and you're stomping your feet, and you watch the game, and it's like, we actually played okay. We didn't get a break here or there. So I think a lot of that goes into coaching too. You have to have you're always in the moment. I mean, that's our life. What have you done for me lately? Get the next win. Yet you do have to have a big picture approach with how's the process going. You hear that all the time, the process. And I believe in that. There's a process involved. Nothing happens overnight, and those are the habit building things. I think that all good organizations, never mind in any sport, it's that process and the habits they build, I think, which makes you successful long term.
So you coach the Capitals, Butch, and then it's what math is, 13 years maybe between that and the head coaching job in Boston. Providence for a long time, and more than went back, pay your dues. Did you allow that to creep in that you might not get another crack at it?
Yeah, for sure. You don't know. I don't know if anybody thinks you can do the job or not. I mean, there's only, well, back then there was less than 32 jobs, right? Because there's some new teams, including this one. So you don't know if it'll ever happen. You go to work. First of all, you're supporting your family, so you got stay employed and do the best you can for them, and hopefully get work your way up. Sometimes it happens quickly for guys, second chance. Sometimes you got to wait, whatever you said it was, 13 years. So to me, that the advice that people have asked me that question, because it can be an interesting story. Like, well, the only thing I ever tell them is be ready. You got to be ready for your second chance, because you're probably not getting a third if you're not ready for your second, right? And that's the biggest piece of advice I have for those guys. Make sure when your name is called that you are ready to go and you've learned, from what happened the first job, and you're, like I said, prepared and ready to go.
You probably know Scott Arniel real well, and he's one of those guys that got that little chance in Columbus and hasn't had a second chance since. And it's I know him a little bit, and I know he really wants that. He wants that next opportunity, but they are hard to come by.
They are, and sometimes there's a lot of different reasons why the first one doesn't work out, and you could go through them all. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You keep grinding away, and networking, I would say, as well. And then, like I said, the second one comes, just be ultra prepared.
Hey, you mentioned, Bruce, earlier in camp, your goaltending situation is you think it's going to be kind of an open competition throughout camp, and it might even carry into the regular season. How do you size up where it's at now, heading into the final week of camp?
Well, I think LT is played very well. Certainly has a leg up on the guys. I think that's been evident. Short sample size as well. So let's see how this week plays out. He had the net last year in front of this group, so I think that gave him a built-in advantage. I think the guys really had faith in him being able to do the job. Hill played the other night. I don't think we were great in front of him early, and there's some he could have stopped to give us a chance to get back in. I think he'd be the first to tell you it wasn't his best, but at the end of the day, they're going to get more opportunity, both of them. And those are the two main guys right now. LB is still injured, so will not be in the mix to start the year. Michael Hutchinson came in, has done what he's been asked, but to me, at the end of the day, it's more about the other two right now, and we'll see how that plays out by Sunday.
What were you listening to in the car on the drive over to work today?
What was I listening to? I was on the phone with Ralph Kruger, of all people.
No kidding.
So I listened to nothing.
You listen to Ralph. What do you listen to if you don't have to? If you're not working.
I'm a classic rock guy. I like the 80s.
Yeah.
I like music. So in a short drive like that, I'm not going to do talk radio probably. It'll be some sort of music, put you in a good mood, or I'll play some tunes from my iPhone.
That's great.
Yeah.
The 80s, I always say, it takes me back to my lost youth.
Yeah.
Those were back in the
We get
those
on
were the days.
We have a different bus than you guys, obviously, and we get, when we fly into a place, Dave and Shane, we have the four of us at the back, we have a speaker, and if sometimes the trainers are on our bus, and if they're in a bad mood, we try and keep it low for about 10 minutes, but then sooner or later we get the classic rock going pretty good. And Dave does a really good Steve Perry imitation, so we get the Journey going. And
nice. I like Journey.
Yeah, I love it.
One of the best voices out there, Steve Perry.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Well, I heard that the jingle before I came on was saying it was New Order. In '84, we won the Memorial Cup, and that was one of the songs we played all the time. It was like New Order and Depeche Mode. It was a big
psychedelic furs, all that.
Yeah, they kind of came into
wave.
that style of music with synthesizers and keyboards and stuff. I got into that.
Thompson Twins.
Yeah. Hold Me Now. Yeah.
Hold Me Now. What was the Canadian? Corey Hart, Never Surrender.
Corey Hart, yeah. Corey Hart was actually right around 83, 84.
Yeah.
That's when he was
Brian
really
Adams.
big.
That's like another Canadian.
Gino Vanelli. You probably heard Gino Vanelli a few times.
Yeah, Montreal. He's from Gino Vanelli.
We play a little Name That Tune on our little bus, like in the back. Our bus is kind of a happy bus. I mean, if you feel free, if you want to come over and join us for.
I like the happy bus, and I like to play Name That Tune. I'd like to think I have a decent encyclopedia knowledge of music. One hit wonders is always a great game to play.
Well, come and join us. I mean, Dave, I know you probably can't, but it would be great to have you.
Dave and I had a big showdown at at a bar in Washington one night during the Stanley Cup final. Actually,
that's right.
Dave usually wins because he not only will he give you the artist and the album, he'll give you the release date.
Oh well, I can't do that.
The year.
I can't.
And it's pretty. He's
in another league.
Charlie. He's Charlie Babbitt.
There's a whole lot of useless information.
He's got a little Rain Man going when
it
it comes to that.
Yeah. But well, Bruce, thanks very much. I know you got a lot more important things to do than talk to us. So, like, as in a practice coming up in a couple of hours. So, thanks for the visit.
Time to get back to work. But thanks for having me, fellas.
Thanks, Bruce.
Bruce Cassidy, nice enough to spend some time with us here. Nighttime at noon. He and the Golden Knights getting ready for the season opener, which is 8 days away in Los Angeles. We'll step aside. Lots more to come after this on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Nighttime at noon rolls on from our Studio 31 here at City National Arena. And, of course, joining you on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Be sure to check out the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson's got a packed schedule coming up. Little something for everyone Tuesday and Thursday. The G League Ignite play their first games at the arena before UNLV Hockey will take the ice this Friday. So real busy stretch over at the Dollar Loan Center. Saturday night, Alice Cooper in town. And then Sunday, the Henderson Silver Knights play their only home preseason game. Their regular season opener opens next week, October the 14th, with the Silver Carpet Celebration. So check it out at thedollarloancenter.com for a full calendar of events. I know, Gary, you have a game. The Golden Knights have a game Saturday. You would be at Alice Cooper if you were not doing
Ace Frehley.
I know.
Playing guitar for him.
That's awesome. That is so good. Did you ever see Kiss back in the day?
No.
With Ace? Yeah.
No.
I've never seen Alice Cooper either. But that would have been like mid-'70s, right? For Kiss, the makeup, the high boots, all that stuff.
Were you a Kiss guy?
So-so. Yeah, so-so. Not huge. Not huge, but enough to know some of the hits anyways. We thank Bruce Cassidy once again for his time. Always great to catch up with the Golden Knights head coach. It's you think about it, Gary, it's been a bit of a whirlwind for him. His wife Julie, the kids, they've talked about they never had lived west. So you pick everything up, sell the house outside of Boston. He was saying they just recently closed on a place here, and he spent the weekend moving in. But it seems like getting pretty acclimated to, we've been lucky enough to be around now for 5+ years. What is a pretty good setup out here, to say the least.
I always get a kick out of, you'll be at the grocery store, and someone will be, will walk up and they'll go, Are you Dave Goucher?
That depends. Do I owe you money?
Yes, I'm Dave. This is Dave.
Yeah, I am. What's it to you?
They're kind of shocked that, like, you grocery shop?
I do.
Yeah, I cook it and I eat it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But think of Bruce Cassidy sitting there in his Golden Knights, workout garb and at home and unpacking a box and taking heat from his wife just like you and I do.
Yep. It's great though. It's
good stuff.
and obviously somebody, and you touched on it during our chat with him, Gary, that had terrific success in Boston.
672 wins percentage.
51 wins last year, the most he's ever had in his coaching career. Cup final to Game 7 in 2019. And, somebody that obviously was not out of work long before being hired here by Kelly McCrimmon, George McPhee, Bill Foley, etc.
They lost to the Blues in 19 in the Stanley Cup, and I talked to someone intimately involved in that series, not Bruce. I was calling to ask about Bruce. This was just after he'd been hired, and that topic came up, and he goes, well, we weren't out-coached. He said, Bruce did a great job, and he said he took our team from great to being on the precipice of winning the Stanley Cup. And then this person said, we should have won the Stanley Cup. He said two things happened. Binnington was better than Rask. He goes, Rask was fine, but in the games that we won, Rask didn't really have to. And in the games that we lost, he said Binnington outplayed him. And then and this part, he said, who knows, maybe Bergie was banged up, but Ryan O'Reilly outplayed Patrice Bergeron. And Ryan O'Reilly, for my money, is underrated.
Yep.
Like, he is fantastic. But so those two things, if your top center and your goalie aren't as good as the other team's top center and their goalie, it's hard to get over that. But the point is, this is a guy who, just a whisper away from having his name on the state. Didn't you find that interesting?
Yeah.
When I said, why do you coach? It went all about the passion, but then quite simply, I want my name on the Stanley Cup.
And it was interesting, I thought he said, I wouldn't term it enjoyable. It's rewarding.
Yeah. He said he wouldn't term it fun.
Yeah.
It can be enjoyable, can be rewarding, but fun isn't.
Fun's not, yeah.
No.
And I remember when Bruce was hired.
Thank God our jobs are fun.
Yeah. We have nothing to do with the wins and losses, thank heavens.
No.
When Bruce was hired and he came out here to do the media tour, we had him on our podcast. And I'm always curious with coaches, what sticks with them longer, losses or wins? And he said, I'm trying to forget Game 7 in 2019.
Yeah, I betcha.
And I think about it, Gary, I was lucky enough to be around Shane's Bruins team that won it in 2011.
Yeah.
2 years later, Shane had retired. They lost in 6 in the final to Chicago. And then we were around the Golden Knights here in 18, obviously. Yeah. I think those losses just I've got to believe still there's got to be times in the middle of the night where if you're in a high spot in those teams or those organizations, you wake up and you just you shake your head. How did we lose? Why did we lose?
If Alex Tuch scores in Game 2, you got to wonder where that series would have gone because Vegas never really put any pressure on Washington.
No.
And now, listen, Washington was good. That power play got going. Ovechkin, Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov to me was a big part of the change there. But Carlson was good. They just their best guys were going, and And Vegas's best guys didn't have a great
The
series.
guy that I usually sit next to during the hockey games would say to me, especially when they were getting into the playoffs, Shane and I would be talking, because after the first round, obviously, our TV duties were done.
Yeah.
But he'd say, if you put that Golden Knights roster and the LA Kings roster side by side,
not that much different.
Kings are probably better.
Yeah.
San Jose was better. Winnipeg was certainly better.
Winnipeg should have won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And you talk about out-coaching. Gerard Gallant out-coached Paul Maurice in that series.
Yeah.
And not by doing anything out of the ordinary. He did what he'd done all year long. He played all 4 lines all night, and he played 6D. Like, the difference that year between Cody Eakin, who was like F6 or F7, and William Karlsson, who was F1, like the difference in their ice time per night was under 2 minutes. All 6D that year averaged over 18. You watch that series, you go back and watch it again, Blake Wheeler is a horse in the first period and a bit. He wins every puck battle, and because same with Dustin Byfuglien, and then the two of them, the second half of the game, they wilt because he's just going to them and going to them and going to them. And he didn't need to. He had depth. He had people he could have gone to. So that was a fascinating series.
Well, and I remember the Golden Knights being down 3-0 in the first game of that series in about 15 minutes, 12 minutes, and thinking, well, okay, evidently this is where the magical mystery tour stops. Is in the conference final, and that wasn't the case.
It was funny too because Marchessault's comments were not false bravado. He was like, "We're going to be better, and we're going to win the next game," and I walked home after game 1. Not home.
Back to the hotel.
Back to the hotel. I lived in Winnipeg for a long time.
Would have been a long walk.
I walked back to the hotel with a couple of players, and they were like, I could remember there was a goal overturned in that game as well.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. They were like, we could have won this game, and we were way better than them for the second half of the game. They took confidence from that game, which it's interesting. We always talk about momentum. Well, the team that won has the momentum. Not in that case.
No.
Vegas took momentum from that loss.
No, not at all. Let's talk a little goaltending with the Golden Knights. So Logan Thompson has looked really good in the games he's played. Aiden Hill, and again, very short sample size. Probably a combination the other night of they weren't, Bruce Cassidy even told us they weren't great in front of him. Hill wasn't real sharp. I think Aiden Hill would like to play some more games here. He's played one game the final 4 months of the season for San Jose last year. Battling injury, played in one game in March. So I think he'd like to get some more games under his belt, but by the sounds of talking to Butch, I mean, it looks like Thompson and Hill, and we'll see where it goes from there. I don't know who they're going to play tomorrow night, but that's an area that's still, it's intriguing because they don't have a clear-cut, proven number one guy at the NHL level going into the season.
They don't. Bruce's words, he said LT has a leg up on him right now to be the number one to start. So let's just, for fun, if Thompson is your number one, is he a 50-game guy? Like, to me, like the situation is not, let's say it's Thompson and Hill, and then Brossoit eventually gets into that conversation. And then it gets complicated, too, because, you traded for Hill. Brossoit is, he wasn't great last year, but he proved to be a pretty effective backup for Hellebuck in his Vezina winning season up in Winnipeg. You know what? Those guys both require waivers. Thompson doesn't. So there could be a moment where where you're trying to figure things out, where you have to let the CBA make decisions for you. That'll be interesting. For me, Thompson, his path is to get the net and never give it up and just keep winning. And if he can do that, he makes what's the expression is there are no good easy decisions. When you have a hard decision to make, it's because both of your choices are good.
Yeah.
I guess the same could be said about if both of your choices are bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it's a good choice and a bad choice, it's an easy decision.
Yeah. It was an old saying when
Philosophy by Gary.
Yeah.
Pretty muddy.
I think it was shockingly, being a history buff that I am, that JFK said that, I think it was Dwight Eisenhower told him, no easy problems come to the desk of the president. it's handled at a lower level.
Yeah, if it's easy.
If it gets to you, we got problems. You better be able to find a way out of this at some point.
I like Thompson's game.
Me too.
I like the way he competes. I think Sean Burke could have a really good influence on him. 50 games is a lot.
It is. How many has he played in the league? 20?
19, I think.
19?
Might be 25.
I could look it up.
19 or 25. One of those
access
two
to the interwebs.
Yes.
But he was the guy last year, when they were really trying to make a push late to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, and actually they went to Leonard a couple of games, and I didn't understand why they did. If
20, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you.
If they had gone to Thompson, I wonder if in a couple of those crucial games when they went to Leonard, and Leonard was clearly not right. You wonder how that would have all panned out, but that's
the 0 for 17 combined in the 3 shootouts didn't help their cause. Those 3 straight games where Thompson was unbelievable.
It's still kind of hard to believe they missed the playoffs.
Yeah, I say, Gary, and it's easy to get lost in the shuffle with it. They were in first place of the All-Star
February
break.
1st.
All-Star break, All-Star game here, first place.
Yeah.
First place out of the playoffs by 3 points in 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for a whole slew of reasons, obviously.
Health's a really big factor.
All right, so we're going to step aside. We got one segment to go. We're going to take a little closer look here at what maybe the Golden Knights opening night lineup is going to look like. There's still some missing pieces here. Players injured, a player unsigned. Some other players have signed. Defensemen have signed, more specifically. And what might that mean for Nick Hague? But before that, we have one final reminder for you. The Henderson Silver Knights, as we said. If you can't get enough hockey with the Golden Knights, be sure to check out the Henderson Silver Knights as well. Why wouldn't you? Of the American Hockey League, playing at the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson. Single game, group, and mini suite tickets for home games throughout the 22-23 season on sale now. Contact the Henderson Silver Knights ticketing team, 702-645-4259, or go online at hendersonsilverknights.com to find out more. Nighttime at noon, we will kind of throw out what we think, hypothesize, maybe the opening night lineup will look like coming up 8 days from now in Los Angeles. After this on Fox Sports Las Vegas. the VGK just about back from Rock Creek in Montana. Had a little team building over the weekend, is their tradition. And they will be back here, meaning City National Arena shortly. They practice at 2:30. Be sure to stop by if you're in the area as the Golden Knights get geared up for preseason game number 5 at the Fortress tomorrow night against Arizona.
What's been your favorite thing to do at Rock Creek?
My favorite thing, I loved that golf course.
Yeah.
Love the golf course. I like the fly fishing, but I'm 0 for 2 trips. Literally 0 for 2 trips. And you and I combined to go 2 for 60 on the skeet shooting when we were up there. We were each 1 for 30, is that right? Shane was picking him off left and right.
Shane was good at it.
But you know what? I would say the golf course and the lake barn.
I like the side-by-side. Getting in that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
We would rip around. The three of us would get a little snack pack.
Tunes,
and,
have the
some
speaker
music
going,
and, go for a long drive, and it was like we were teenage kids too, because one guy would drive for 20 minutes, half an hour, and then there'd be like a tap, like my turn, and then Shane would go from the driver's seat, I'd move from the passenger seat, you'd go from the back up to the passenger, and Shane would go to the it was fun.
They let us keep how long are they going to let us keep these side by sides? No, it's great, but the team will be on the ice here shortly at City National. All right, so opener next Tuesday in L.A. Yeah. What's your lineup look like, Lawman?
Smith, Eichel, Kessel, Marchessault, Stevenson, Stone, Amadio, Carlson, Howden, Cotter, Waugh, Kolasar. Carrier's injured right now. We don't know when he's coming back. If Carrier comes back, does that mean that Cotter's the 13th forward? We'll see. I think it's got to – right now I don't think he would be. I think he would play and somebody else would sit from that bottom 6 group. But right now I've got him in there on the 4th line. McNabb with Theodore, Pietrangelo and Martinez. White Cloud with Hutton or Korzak. And if Nick Hague signs today and gets back and can play in 2 of the last 3 games, I'd go Hague, White Cloud. Here's the thing about Hague. I watched him, and so did you, in those captain's practices. He looked bigger, stronger, and faster than he ever has. Like he's signed. He was 6'5", 214. He's 6'6", 238 now, and his skating has finally come to that place where I'm not going to say Colton Parayko, but he could be special.
Tough time to miss camp.
Yep. What do you got?
New coach. Similar. Top 2 lines are the same. Marchessault, who, by the way, I thought it was interesting after the first period the other night. Bruce Cassidy didn't waste much time and didn't like what he saw and put Marchessault with Waugh and Cotter for the rest of the night. But
Erik Karlsson was left alone on that one goal and able to come down.
Yeah.
He's Marchessault's guy to cover at the point, and that didn't work.
So, but on its face, I like the look of Marchessault, Stevenson, Stone, Smith, Eichel, Kessel. I would have Cotter with Carlson and Amadio, and then if Carrier's healthy, Carrier, Waugh, Kolasar. To me, Howden right now is the extra guy.
Yeah, he's got to pick it up.
Hasn't had a great camp.
He did have a good year last year. I liked what we saw there, but he's got to make some things happen. I'd agree.
And then I like the deep pairs. I like Pietrangelo, Martinez, McNabb, Theodore, and then probably Hutton and White Cloud. It's interesting, Gary. I was asking you earlier in the office that the defensemen that signed, Sean Durzi and Mikey Anderson with the Kings. Durzi 2 years, 3.4, so 1.7 average.
Yeah.
Anderson signed 1 year for $1 million, plays in their top D pair with Drew Doughty.
Yeah.
Rasmus Sandin signs 2 years, 2.8, so 1.4 a year with the Leafs. Where does Hague fit in all that? It's got to be in that neighborhood, right?
For sure. The whole thing to me is it's not pennies, but we're not talking about $500,000 difference here. It shouldn't be.
No.
Per year. Maybe year over year. Anyways, I hope they get it done because he could be a real important piece here.
Yep. And the NHL season starts this Friday, Saturday in Prague, San Jose, and Nashville. Nashville's playing a preseason game in Switzerland, Bern, Switzerland, as we speak. Our thanks to Floyd and Songi here, to LB back in the studio. Dave Goucher, Gary Lawless. Have a great afternoon on Fox Sports Las Vegas.